Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm covering Secrets of the Lost Station, which is the spiritual successor to Secrets of the Lost Tomb, which are also covered on the channel. I think there is, two distinct differences in this game. Yes, this is set in space, quite obviously, whereas the other one is set more in a, let's call it Indiana Jones type of setting, a little bit more classical adventurer style. But what I think the main difference here is that this is heavily scenario driven. So you're looking at the scenario guide here, which comes with over 350 or even over 360 pages. Really quite a lot of these so-called campaigns when we have a look at those. So this is the campaign tracker, which is insane. So we have the core campaign, Lycaon, Chronicas, Machinations, Resurrections, Lost Missions 1 and 2, and basically all the way over here to Oblivion. So overall the game comes with 92 of these individual scenarios. You are supposed to play them basically from 1 to 92. Throughout the campaign you will unlock more and more stuff, more heroes, more equipment, more creatures, you name it. But once you have unlocked these, you can basically replay all of these scenarios or campaigns basically somewhat individually if you want to. And there is even more. The game comes with the Undiscovered pack, which I also have somewhere here, and which allows you to replay a lot of these campaigns with an additional challenge from what I've understood. But I think with 92 different scenarios, you definitely have quite a lot to explore. Because I've never really played this game before, and to give you an introduction to the game, I'm covering the Training Grounds mission today, which is kind of a heavily scripted tutorial actually, so you really have to walk through. You are taking some mild decisions throughout this first tutorial, but it's still, it really introduces you to the core mechanics of this game. And depending on your interest and depending on how things go, I might then also consider to play an actual scenario here. I think the next one would be Mystery of the Paladin, which is then the actual gameplay where you are more or less free to choose what you need to do. Each of these scenarios is staged in various ways, so how you're setting up these event tracker and whatnot, which I think works a little bit against the replayability, but I'm still sure there is a lot of randomization still going on, so you don't exactly know when certain things are happening. But of course, the story itself and various, let's say, key milestones or key events in each of these scenarios, they will happen at the same time. And from what I understood, there is not sure if there is branching, actually. I really don't know. Let's take it from here. So again, today I will be covering the Training Grounds, which is part of the so-called core campaign, year 3019 CE. Having narrowly escaped from your nemesis, the Ancients, you have sought refuge on a mysterious space station that is badly in need of assistance to repair its systems. You must explore to discover powerful technology in the hopes of preparing your team, restore the functions of the station while uncovering its true power, and battle against the other races that seek to control it as a means of ruling the galaxy. So we have some core campaign content here. So this campaign will offer us 6 explorers. We will encounter most likely 2 bosses. We will have 56 creatures, which already is quite a few. There are a ton more that you might be able to unlock. We are dealing with 30 tiles. You will also unlock more tiles as you go, some abilities here, and this is the unlockable content. I'm not 100% sure when you are unlocking this. I think maybe even after the first scenario already we might be unlocking at least some of the abilities. Could be incorrect, so but we will see a lot more items to come, some more systems or station systems and whatnot, and this will happen throughout the campaign. So the more you do or play through the campaign, the more you will experience. Again, once you have unlocked it, you can use it then from there onwards. Because of the scaling rules of this game, which I really don't like, I decided to play a 4-player game. So we have Balthazar, this guy here, we have Nakatomi, this guy here, then we have Cassiopeia and Jack Holden. For this scenario, Cassiopeia will be the starting player. I will have a closer look at those characters when we activate them for the first time. Each of those characters have a so-called Explorer archive, which give you a full backstory of this character. So there is an introduction here, but they also come with these memory recall events that will happen throughout the game. They're really not doing anything from a rules mechanics, but simply giving you some background on a lot of these characters. Not sure if I should be reading those to you. They're really spoilery. Overall, this thing is quite spoilery. I think for the tutorial mission that doesn't matter too much, but as of the second mission onward, yes, definitely expect some spoilers. But again, today I will be only covering the Training Grounds mission. As for the scenario guide here, the Training Grounds, we only have one objective. Follow Darwin's instructions to complete your training. We will unfold who Darwin is. We have these so-called scenario triggers, so we will have to do something at the start of the first turn. Then we will do something at the event track when it reaches track 3 and 7, when we will be exploring some of these new rooms, when we have defeated our first creatures. Not necessarily all of these triggers will trigger in the tutorial, but I think they simply prepared it in case something would happen, and I really do appreciate that, quite honestly. Before we get started, a huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members. You guys are truly amazing. Can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. And then let's have a final look at the setup for this Training Grounds mission. So we will see what explorers we are able to use. Again, I decided to go with the 4-player game. We will not have any starting items. We will be able to find the stim pack. We are not dealing with any station systems yet, so that's something that we might be unlocking. We will most likely deal with quartermasters and or pirate crews here. We will deal with those rooms for this first scenario. They are staged, so we will explore them in order. Normally this is done randomly, of course. In this scenario, not so much. And this also tells us how we have to set up the station tracker here. Normally you do these bluish things randomly. In this case, we already know when certain things are happening. Okay then, off to the mission briefing. Previously on Kickstarter, I didn't get this through Kickstarter, by the way. The Icarus bursts out of warp space and you're once again drifting in darkness. Your ship systems are badly damaged, but you don't need long-range sensors to spot the moon-sized object in your forward screen. This is not a moon, this is a space station, right? Knowing the ancients and their mercenaries won't be far behind you, you take your chances and dock with the station. You and your fellow members of the Eternal Order of Perseus, EOP, enter the pressurized docking station and are greeted by 3 floating tetrahedral drones. They proceed to scan you. Assessment complete. No threat detected, one of them says out over speaker. It projects a shifting holographic eye in front of it. Greetings, I'm Darwin, the station guardian, the drone says. Your appearance in this remote sector has reactivated the central systems. Star maps indicate year is 3019. Your ship is badly damaged, much like the station itself, Darwin says. Perhaps our meeting can be mutually beneficial. Your assistance in repairing the station would be most appreciated. If we help each other, there still may be enough time. Come, follow me. There is much to explain. Again, with a little option, your party follows Darwin down a series of halls into an empty room that's only feature is a glowing grid. You feel you have no choice but to follow. So that's basically where we are. We entered here at the docking station and Darwin has led us here to the so-called holodeck. One thing that is important to note, the holodeck only has one entrance here. So you're looking at these white stripes here. When you see two white stripes next to each other, this means this is an open doorway. And again, the holodeck only has one entrance here to the left. Here is our shuttle or our ship, the Icarus. Right, I think we might not need it or use it throughout this scenario. And from here we are starting our story. We will now trigger our first scenario trigger because we are now dealing with the start of the first turn. I'm not reading through all of the rules. I will focus on the narrative. Everything else I will cover for you because otherwise this might really take a while. Darwin leads you and your fellow explorers to the holodeck. As you enter, it morphs into a wide room with ergonomic furniture. Darwin asks you to each take a seat. You find the nearest chair and sit. And blinding pain shoots up from the base of your skull. I apologize for any discomfort, Darwin says. His voice now seems to be coming from inside your head. We will now begin the training program. Follow my directions exactly will give you the greatest chance of survival. Now, please return to the docking station and go through the door to your left. So now we are basically being led through this scenario here. So we are being told, and we are also now learning about that basically your turn typically consists of a move, and then an action. You can move, further move with an action, but then this is your action gone. Then you can also take some free action, but that is something that we are going to uncover. So in this case, let's start with Cassiopeia here. And I promise you to have a closer look at our heroes right now. So this is Cassiopeia. Right now she's on her normal unwounded side. We have a once per game kind of ability, that's a cybernetics in her case. Once per game after combat, activate ability to double damage dealt this turn. This can be quite helpful obviously, so we might want to make good use out of this. Around here we have our tracks, so we have the power on top. Power is a really poor wording actually, that's in the end experience points. I have no clue why they chosen power in this case. We have our courage. Courage basically translate into your fitness of mind also, because this tells you when you will be able to use the focused ability on each of your ability cards here. So right now for her it's her tune up, because we are unfocused and you are focused when you reach 5 on the courage track. I don't know why they haven't marked it down on this tracker here. This is only the starting space, so she needs 2 more courage basically in order to make it, to activate it here. So both, it doesn't give her anything. With the focus we would be gaining +1 strength on strength test when we are doing that. Down here we have our stamina, that's our life points. When we are going to 0 we would then be wounded. First of all, we are flipping to the other side. We are still able to heal another character that is wounded in order to prevent that, because you're losing a lot of stuff. I think especially the main ability on the other side. And here on the left hand side we have the audacity, which you can use for all kinds of stuff, mainly to switch audacity symbols on the on your test dice basically to successes. But there are also ways when you are basically being told make an audacity roll. Now here, and then here in the middle we have our normal stats like strength, like dexterity, like knowledge, movement, mythos and combat, which you will be using at certain points throughout the game. Right now important is the movement. She can move up to 4 spaces, and again the scenario tells us to move back into the docking station and then to the left. What they do mean is basically left from this room onward, at least that's how I understand, because left would be really Icarus, but it doesn't really matter too much. So we are moving down here into an empty space. We have an exit point here, so it's half a door, so now we have to make sure we make it basically a full door. And the first room we are encountering is the storage bay. We have to align it so that basically door gets to a door. So I think in this case, let's do it like this. So now we have created a proper pathway, because it comes with search tokens, and it tells us here when explored, place 3 search tokens. And as an action, or as I think as a free action, yeah, it's not an action, it's actually a free action, we can search here in the storage bay. But first of all, let's place the free search items. And because we have discovered the storage bay, we have a scenario item for that, or a trigger for that: storage bay explored, which means there is an entry in the scenario book. And actually I did misspeak, this is really an additional action. So as an action we can discard an item to gain an item, so we can exchange items here basically. But let's head over to our scenario book. This one says you enter the storage bay and find a stack of supply crates. It looks like there may be useful equipment in there. So now we are being told how we can use free action, that we are told to do a free action here, and then we are being redirected to search event 1, because that's what's happening when you are searching. You are going through these search events, and once you are running out of search events, you are typically no longer able to search. Normally you take the top card of the item deck. In this case the item deck was heavily staged, so we are flipping it over. It's a surprise, a stim pack. It comes with 2 uses up here. Font is extremely small on this. It allows you to heal for each of these uses, to heal you and or any other explorer up to 3 stamina in the same room. And this says now you have found a stim pack. It sure looks useful. Then we are basically being told that you can never heal above your starting health and whatever. And now we are being redirected to our main event here for the storage bay. Great, a stim pack for restoring your stamina. Hopefully you don't need it. You can use the majority of these items as a free action during your turn, unless the item says otherwise. So if it says action, you really have to spend an action. That's actually what's happening next now. So we have used our normal movement. You have to stop your movement once you have explored. In theory we could now spend our real action for moving again, but we can't explore another room. But in this case case, it might be a good idea to maybe go for an adrenaline action. Adrenaline action, you say? Wow, what is this? First of all, one thing I constantly keep forgetting in these kind of games, whenever you are exploring a new room, you are awarded 1 power, which again is an experience points once you make it to 11 basically. So from 10 to the next step, you would then be allowed to flip one of your abilities to the other upgraded side. And then they're really way more powerful, because here the base rating doesn't give you anything, but once it's upgraded here, we have the cyber strength. So even with unfocused, we get a +1 on combat checks, and we can pass, and when we pass any check, we get an additional courage for that. So that's quite nice, but again, right now we didn't make it quite yet. But we can stay here because we are going to do a, what was it already forgot, an adrenaline check. Adrenaline basically increases your courage, and you can use this test on you or anyone else in your room, typically one of your heroes. And this is already something which I didn't really game quite well, because I think she has the lowest mythos rating for the party. So that's basically how many dice you are allowed to roll, and for each success you're rolling, you are getting 1 extra courage. Again, not the end of the world, but if we make it to 5, we would be able to use then the focused ability of Cassiopeia's action, or rather ability, so she gets an extra die when we are rolling strength checks for her. So let's do that. So hooray, first die roll of the game. Again, her mythos ability is 2 dice, and we are looking for these pistol symbols here. These are successes. Are you kidding me? We rolled 4 successes. So now that it's heavily scripted, we are rolling so well, or I'm rolling so well. Yeah, watch me fail when we get some more freedom of choice. Quite honestly. But yeah, I think we're supposed to remove the topmost search token, by the way. And the rules also tell you that when you're running out of these search events in the scenario, also removing the remainder of those search tokens in that room respectively. But yeah, awesome. We will be gaining 4 courage. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yes, we are definitely in the focused area right now. So let's make sure, if we are going to do a strength test, it has to be with Cassiopeia. But quite honestly, I don't know if this will happen or not. So that's basically the end of our turn. So we have moved, we have explored a new room, we have taken a free action. Each free action you can only take once per turn basically. So I couldn't search again with the same explorer on the same turn, and we have used our main action. This case was an adrenaline action. So the last thing for this explorer is to go through the station phase, I believe. So let's have a quick look at our station tracker here, which is a very nice thing. I like this a lot. So we have these blue events here. These are typically randomized, not in this first scenario. They could be anything from explorer event, they could be blanks, they could be station events and whatnot. And these are, I think, typically set by the campaign. So these are certain scenario triggers which will drive the story forward. And here we have a combat item which will then also activate any creatures that are potentially on the station. So let's flip over the first event, and it's a blank. Nothing is happening here, which means we are moving over to the next character, Jack Holden. His survivor ability says once per game prior to performing a check, combine an additional attribute to build dice pool. That's really nice. So we can basically add, for example, our movement to combat once per scenario basically. So his stamina, he starts with 2 courage. I think we all start with 1 powered. Audacity is definitely changing. He has 4 audacity, which is definitely quite a lot. He can move only 3 spaces, which is quite all right. And his mythos would be 4, so he would have rolled 4 dice, but I could have rolled 4 blanks. So having her roll 2 doubles on her 2 dice was of course amazing. His muscle memory, unfocused, doesn't do him anything. He will get +1 for combat in his dice pool when he is focused, aka when he is up to 5 courage. So we are being told to move again, and we want to explore more rooms to learn about the station. And I think we are moving Jack 1 and 2 spaces up here. We will reveal our next room, and in this case we have found the gravity control. I think it has exits on each side, so it doesn't matter in which orientation we are placing it. We will have a scenario trigger for the gravity control. And this room comes also with an action. We can reverse gravity. So we are doing a check. Basically, if we are passing, each explorer gets +1 movement and each creature on the station will lose 1 movement until after the next combat event. So this can be definitely quite useful. I think we are not doing any free actions here. We will now really trigger our reverse gravity here. So again, we are rolling our dice. In this case, we are rolling our knowledge. And again, I've chosen poorly. His knowledge is only 2. So again, we are only rolling 2 dice here. Before I do, we have a small reading here. Congratulations, you have found the station's gravity control room. Then again, we are being explored what to do. It tells us that the check for this test requires us to make 2 successes in order to pass. Normally, 1 is enough, and that's very Arkham Horror-like, right? But yeah, let's roll some dice. Again, only 2, unfortunately. We are looking for these pistols, and wow, he made it as well. Are you kidding me? This would have been an Audacity roll, so we could now spend Audacity to flip this into a success, but with 2 successes, that's all we need. So nice job here. You use the gravity control to reduce the effective gravity on the station. You feel light on your feet and can bounce down corridors with little effort. So we are triggering our next event. So this is the end of his turn, because again, we moved and then we took an action. So let's flip it over and bam, bam, bam. We have a station event. A storm of large meteors pummels the station. You feel the floor buck underneath you. All explorers must perform a dexterity check using their dexterity attribute. And now we're basically learning about Audacity. So now we can basically use Audacity to pass the test. I think we only need 1 success each. Let's start with Jack here. His dexterity is 4, and again we are looking for 1 success here, and that's good enough. He rolled 3. Nicely done. Then it would be Nakatomi. He also rolls 4 tests. Nakatomi is still here at the holodeck. We haven't moved him. Also good. Nicely done. Then we have the somewhat not so nimble Balthazar with only 2 dice here. Still, he is pretty much okay. And then Cassiopeia also is rolling 4 dice for her, what was it, dexterity, right? And again, okay, perfect thing. So we only rolled basically 2 of these Audacity symbols, and we have rolled a critical miss. Critical misses per se doesn't do anything unless the test tells you otherwise. Some creatures will trigger stuff when you're rolling these critical misses, for example, when you combat them. But in this case, I guess we are going to spend 1 Audacity for her to flip all these Audacity symbols into successes. So we have all made it. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And this says, you were lucky. The room you're in was far from the station surface and the shaking was minimal. In case of a fail, we would have lost our very first stamina. And that's basically the end of Jack Holden's turn. We are moving over to Nakatomi. He now has a movement of +1 because we have activated the gravity control, and maybe I will place one of these generic markers on this space so that I don't forget, but anyway, I will forget it. Pretty sure about that. So Nakatomi has a movement of 4 +1 now, so he could basically move anywhere, but he has to stop if we are moving into something which hasn't been explored. So I think let's move him 1, 2, and then either here or there. It doesn't really matter. Let's move him down. Let's move him here, right? I think that makes more sense to keep things a little bit more compact. We are revealing our next room, and it's the airlock. We have to... let's do it like this. Yeah, I think let's do it like this. Again, we have to create an opening. We can't move into the holodeck anyway, and here we have some freedom to explore. That's really, you are allowed to rotate it to your liking, but the only thing is you need to open the doorway here. One thing that is not so great, we are seeing these glowing eyes, and it also says here, when explored, spawn 1 creature or monster. In this case, we do have a scenario trigger on this card, which says airlock explored. And this one says you enter the airlock and discover an intruder. So the rules are now, or the scenario is telling us how we are spawning creatures, that we are using these creature damage tracker. I will walk you through that in a second. Let's really focus on the narrative here. It's a Starling pirate scout. You don't want him getting back to his masters and reporting on your position. So let's have a quick look at those pirate crew here. First of all, we are taking one of these creature triggers, and I think we are placing it over here. And that's, I think, somewhat similar to Gloomhaven or so. So these pirates, so let's spawn one, they have numbers on them. So this is pirate number 1. So any damage we are dealing to this standee will then be triggered on the corresponding position here on the creature damage tracker here recording. Let's have a quick look at the pirate crew itself. It has 4 movement, -1 right now, 7 health, which is not bad actually. It deals 3 damage, but only if we are not making it over or at his combat rating, I believe, and his ability says strength in numbers. If the pirate crew deals damage, lose -1 stamina for each additional Starling creature in the room. So they're really, again, they have their strength in numbers. And now we are being told to basically take a hit at this guy. So that's basically the action for Nakatomi's turn. We are rolling 3 combat dice here, and because it's a normal test, we can also use our audacity. So we are rolling 3 dice, and ideally we are doing 3 successes, because if we are rolling equal to or higher than this rating here, we are not taking any damage. So that's our attack and our defense in some extent, and I really like that mechanic. It's a nice one. So that's really not great, not worth mentioning. We can't spend any audacity here because, again, we didn't roll any audacity symbol. So that's 1 measly hit on that pirate crew here. So we are assigning 1 hit. It's definitely better than nothing. And I think, again, I forgot to award each of those fellas their PowerPoint actually, because they have explored the rooms. I told you I was going to forget that, but that's fine. Because we have dealt 1 hit to the pirate crew, Jack Holden, Nakatomi gets an additional PowerPoint, another experience point. He would take now, or he's also gaining 1 courage because we have dealt 1 blow, but now we are also checking did we reach or exceed his combat rating here? We did not. It's only 1 measly success, which means we are taking 3 points worth of damage. 1, 2, 3. And because we have taken it, we will suffer 1 courage point. So they're basically equaling each other out. And that's the end of his turn. He could take 3 actions, but I think right now let's not do that. One thing to note though for this particular room, it's a transport location, so we could basically move between these 2 rooms like they would be connected. So we are teleporting or beaming, and it's also a boarding entrance, which also allows us to move our shuttle next to it. I think in later mission that's something that you can do. In this particular scenario, it doesn't really matter. Last thing to do for Nakatomi is to trigger the scenario event. So we have our very first scenario trigger. Hooray! You are doing very well, Explorer, Darwin tells you. I am beginning to believe that our meeting was more than just serendipity. I have waited a very long time here on the station for the arrival of individuals fit to be called paladins. You are certainly not there yet, but there may be still hope for the galaxies. All explorers gain 1 courage and 1 power. So that's basically the end of their turn. And now we get to decide if we want to try to take out that pirate or if we want to keep exploring. I will now award the power and courage basically off camera. But because we have our tanks going next, and because of the +1 here on courage, he starts with 4 courage already. He is already focused, and his lizard brain tells us when he's focused he gets +1 die to his combat dice pool. So he's rolling 5 combat dice. So he's now the perfect candidate trying to take another swing at the pirate crew. So I think we should be doing that. He has 4 movements, more than enough. 1, 2, 3. He will stop here for his action. He's taking another combat action. Again, he's rolling 5 dice in total. That's really not terrible. And the game really comes with a hell of a lot of dice to roll. So, I mean, a game must be good if it comes goes with a lot of dice, right? But 5 is enough right now. Again, we are still looking for at least 3 successes. We can use audacity and whatnot. And again, we are failing like crazy. Are you kidding me? In this case, I will be spending 1 audacity for sure to transform these into successes. This guy is tough like hell. He has taken 3 points worth of damage, but he is really swinging hard. So also Balthasar is taking 3 points of hits. 1, 2, 3. Again, we take 1 power. We would gain 1 courage, but we are losing the courage. But that's basically already the end of his turn. Kind of embarrassing, guys. But I really enjoy this game. It's really a lot of fun, and especially this event tracker works really, really nice. So let's flip over the next one. It's another blank. Nothing else is happening, which means we are starting, let's call it the next full round with Cassiopeia. The thing is, I'm not really sure if she is equipped to take out that pirate crew. Again, she's rolling only 2 dice. We could use her cybernetic skill though, so double her damage dealt. But this guy still needs 4 more hits, so she needs to roll at least 2 successes in order to make it. So it's really embarrassing what's happening here. There is actually a trigger on this scenario which says first creature defeated, but right now this game is really mocking me, or basically mopping the floor with me. And even though she is focused, her tune-up only gives her an additional strength, which really doesn't help her. This is really not looking good. So maybe we should start, or we could, maybe we should really still try that, because then potentially, I don't know, Nakatomi could try to take him out next or so. Maybe that's the better deal. Maybe because Jack Holden is very far away. I don't want also to move him down here. Not sure if that's a good idea to group everyone together actually. So no, I will try my best with her. So she's moving in here. And I think in between there are also some rules which tells you about how we are getting penalized if there are more creatures than heroes. In this case, it's really not a problem. We are not suffering anything. And I think outnumbered or so is the term, or whatever this means. And then we can't really use the action there and whatnot. So in this case, I guess, yeah, let's move her over here. Let's have her fight. Again, she can use her power token, the external order of Paladins. What was it? Perseus, exactly. So we can use her special ability once per game. So let's roll her 2 dice. She still has 1 more audacity left actually. So yeah, let's try that. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it, guys. Learn from Cassiopeia. The miss one here, the critical miss, doesn't do anything for this particular hero. And because it's 2 damage, I guess, yeah, we have to use her special ability. So we are not flipping this. I think we are basically removing it from her character sheet here to double activate ability to double damage dealt this turn. So yeah, I think we have to do that. So way to go, Cassiopeia, which means we are dealing 4 hits. So again, she is taking 1 power point. Nicely done. She gains 1 courage, and because now she has defeated that creature, so I think we can safely put it back to the holding area for this creature. Again, we have a trigger which says first creature defeated. Good job! You have killed the pirate before it could do any real damage. I'm not so sure about that one. I think he dealt 6 damage to all of us. Whenever you kill a creature by combat or by any other means, you gain a kill bonus. You gain +1 power, so she gains another power. Not only the power because she made wound, but... And then everyone in the room, including herself, gains an additional courage. And that's the cool thing. They're almost all in here. Really nicely done. We are also removing this token. She didn't take any damage. We already have seen that. So that was really great. So she's getting 1 more courage. So she's maxed out. Now Jack Holden is the only one who doesn't get anything. But both Nakatomi and Balthasar do get 1. Nicely done. Over to the scenario trigger. Oh, we have an Explorer event. So this is now when these Explorer archives come into the picture. And we do that for Cassiopeia. So whoever triggers these is basically allowed to do a reading. Again, there is a full backstory for each of these characters in here. I think there's even, again, what race she is. She's a starling. She's 300 years age. There is gender. Range combat is her strength. Lone wolf. I believe there will be abilities for her which allow her to hit adjacent rooms, which is very nice. That's why she has the ranged ability. And here I'm not so sure if I should be really reading these reveals. You cross them off once you do that. I will not do that in this introductory scenario, so I want to keep the spoilers at a minimum. But let me know if you want me to read them when I continue the campaign, at least the very first normal mission here. Right, so just let me know. After you have basically read this, you're doing a so-called recall roll. So you're rolling a normal d6 with her. So the game also comes with normal d6s, but I think I will be using my J-Play die here. The one is my logo, by the way. Let's roll that, and it's a 6. Okay, I don't know if high results are good or not. So let's quickly. Empowered. A lesson learned once is strong, but a lesson learned twice is powerful. Nothing can stand in the way of someone who's firmly rooted in both their past and their present. Oh wow, gain 2 audacity. That is amazing. Yeah, this was a great turn for Cassiopeia. I already start to like her quite a lot, actually. But that's basically the end of her turn. She moved, she fought very successfully, I might have to add, and she basically dealt with her past. Nice. Then it's over to Jack, and I think we still have a couple of rooms to explore. There's nothing else to do, and because of table real estate, I will simply move up north. And what do we have here? It's the communications room. Let me stay here before I place so we can have a look at it. It also comes with an action which allows us to vent to space. Okay, this sounds intriguing, but I think we do have a scenario trigger for that as well. Yes, indeed, communications explored, which we just did. You have found the communications room, which is a central nexus for the station's comms and functions as a secondary bridge during emergencies. Blah, 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 blah. At first you feel overwhelmed by all the flashing lights and bright monitors. Then the room fills with an ominous red light that can only mean something bad. On 2 of the central screens you see images of starling pirates vessels boarding the station. So we are spawning now a pirate and a quartermaster. Where do we? In the docking station. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the station here. So this is the docking station. So we will be adding number 1 of the quartermaster. We will bring back number 1 of the pirate crew. So we will need 2 of these spawning cards now. So we have the quartermaster here. So we are taking a creature tracker accordingly. I will zoom in on those in a second. So these are here, and we have our friend the pirate back. And the quartermaster is definitely somewhat tougher. It comes with a combat rating of 4. That's really nothing to sneeze at. And he comes with a power armor. If any critical misses are rolled, reduce damage received by 2. So that is brutal. So there we are getting punished for rolling these missed things. He has 10 life points, but only 3 or -2 now movement points. Interesting. But we still have an action, and I'm wondering what we are about to do. Quickly, Darwin advises, use the command to vent the docking station before the pirates can gain a foothold. The rules also tell us about, again, now we are being told about overpowered, not outnumbered. Overpowered is the one that's also talking about evasion penalties. If we are moving out of a room where we are overpowered, we are losing basically life points for each creature there. But again, right now the docking station is on his, it's basically only populated by enemies. But again, let's have a quick look at the action. Vent to space. If no explorer is present in target boarding entrance, and again the docking station is a boarding entrance, select a creature to vent into space. Bosses are immune though. I wonder what we are going to do here. Yes, of course, you guessed it right. Jack Holden, who should have received another power, by the way, because he explored, I keep forgetting that, is venting one of these guys into space. It's basically the same thing as airlock. It's introduced in Pegasus expansion of Battlestar Galactica, and the first time I played this game, someone really threw me out the airlock. I didn't do anything wrong still. I was basically put out. So we are basically putting this guy out of game again, which is definitely good. We can get rid of this. I believe we have killed that creature now, so we get another power and another courage. Anyone else with me in the room would also gain a courage. And keep in mind, I couldn't have done the vent action here if there would have been any explorers here. That's not how we play this game, right? Nicely done, Jack. So he is triggering his event now, which in this case is a combat event, and I believe we do have a combat event here. Yes, first combat event token revealed. Normally that's not something that you do. Combat events are very straightforward actually, but for the sake of the tutorial we are still walking through that. One of the hulking quartermaster sends a signal to attack and the pirates charge at you together. What quartermaster, you might ask? We just him out into space. But again, yeah, here we're being told normally when combat event triggers you will not read an event, but in this case it's there. All creatures move and attack. First of all, from what I understand, each creature will move, and then depending on where they are, they will then do an attack. Basically we are going through normal combat action. And this one is quite interesting. They will move to the closest explorer. 1, 2, 1, 2. In case of a tie, they will go to the explorer with the highest power. Both Jack and Cassiopeia are basically present. So normally you are rolling off, but I think I can solve this relatively easily if I can find my J-Play dice somewhere. Yeah, here's another one. We have plenty of those. So 1, 2, 3 is Jack and 4 to 6 is Cassiopeia. It's 1, 2, 3. So this guy is moving 1, 2, 3. Keep in mind he can only move 3 spaces. So if he would have been further away, I think he wouldn't have been able to reach us. No, it's 2 spaces. No, that's fine. I think that's fine. Anyway, and then we are doing a combat action. So pretty much Jack Holden is getting a free combat attempt here. Of course, he can take some damage as well. I think he's not courageous enough right now, so he's not focused. He's rolling, 3 dice against that guy up there. So let's see. Oh, nicely done. That's how you do it. So 4 hits, which means Jack Holden is not taking any hits this time, but because he did a hit, he's getting 1 courage, so now he is focused, and 1 power. Okay, he almost made it to 10, but again, we would need to make it to 11. There is a trigger on this thing which says first explorer exceeds 10 power. I'm not quite sure how to do that, quite honestly, but yeah, that's what it is. And then I guess that's the end of the event, and I think we are slowly coming to the end of this scenario. So we are still activating Nakatomi. This thing is gone, so we no longer gain the +1 on our movements. We could activate it again, of course, but we still have 1 more tile to explore. But I believe this doesn't trigger anything anymore, because this was the last event in respect to anything we are going to explore, and we can't. Yeah, we have 4 movements, so in theory he could move up to the pirate crew. He's rolling 3 dice. We already read through this thing, right? Let's explore. Let's do 1 and 2 down here, out of the storage bay into the okay, what is it? The research lab. Okay, it comes with search tokens, but again, because we don't have any more search events, I think we can't trigger that also. Don't quite know. But this also means we can't really take an action here, right? We could go for an audacity or adrenaline action for him, for example, right? Yeah, and I just checked that. When the last search event is being triggered, we're also not placing any more search tokens here. But yeah, because we have suffered some damage, we could basically heal himself, and he's rolling his knowledge skill for that. Yeah, let's totally do that before we are doing nothing, right? Okay, yeah, that's 4 successes. The criticals don't do us anything, or doesn't do any harm here, So it's 1, 2, 3 only. Again, we can never exceed our starting health. Again, there could be abilities later on which might increase that. I don't know, but right now that's the core rule. And that's basically the end of his turn, which means we are flipping the final token, which happens to be a scenario trigger. You have thinned out the enemies that have boarded the station and are starting to feel some hope that you might survive this. Suddenly the station shudders as it's struck by blaster fire and the lights go out. You only barely see by the beam light on your weapon. You hear a clunk. A large vessel has docked, Darwin says. You turn to the boarding entrance in time to see the airlock cycle open with a hiss. Huge tentacles slither through the opening, their movement mesmerizing. You hear a voice in your head, not Darwin's this time.
The station is mine.
My precious, no, different thing. Then the vision, the voice, and the pirates around you are all gone. The lights are on, not as if they've been turned on, but as if they were never off. Congratulations, Darwin says. You have reached the end of the training simulation. This concludes your training. Read the VIN conclusion. Very suddenly, you are back in the holodeck, seated in the ergonomic white chair, recovering from your virtual experience. You feel a thin layer of nanogel sliding off of you. One of Darwin's drones floats up before you. Thankfully, his voice issues from a speaker this time. You have completed basic training and you should now understand how to survive on the station, he says. Please be aware that the challenges you faced were pre-programmed and the coming challenges you face will be unpredictable and much more difficult. I have injected medical nanites into your brain so you will remain connected to my bionet. This enables me to track your whereabouts and vitals throughout the station. The holodeck doors slide open and the chair beneath you abruptly begins to dissolve. You stand just in time to avoid falling over. If you are ready to begin, please return to your shuttle while I refresh the station's layout and prepare for the enemy boarding party, Darwin says. You look at the others in alarm. Jack Holden, the EOP commander, is first to respond. What raiding party? The Starling raiding party that followed you out of warp space, of course, Darwin replies. So now we are basically being told how we are dealing with the campaign tracker, and I think we have unlocked our first station system, which happens to be the drone. I don't really know where it is, but I will find it. But that's basically the end of the Training Grounds introductory mission. And honestly, even though this was heavily scripted, I did enjoy this quite a lot actually. And by the way, I have found the drone station system that we unlock, but again, we will have a look at this if we are going to continue our little journeys here. So everything will now be put aside, basically put back into the deck, and then we will going into the next scenario. We get new setup instructions, we might encounter new monsters and creatures and whatnot, but again, the next mission will be a normal mission, so we will really have to do our own decisions here. We're getting a new goal, what we need to achieve typically in a determined number of rounds, so we can't explore the station forever. So yeah, I'm honestly really very much looking forward to play this game either with you or without you if you're not really interested, right? Basically a little bit up to you. Let me know what you think. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and yeah, until then, bye bye.